Welcome, everybody, again to another surf report. Now, this is part two. So, if you're just now coming into the discussion, realize there is a part one that is a link down below in the show notes. And that's the regular surf report for October 27th through November 2nd, 2022. This part two, is going to focus on just the lunar eclipse. It's a preview of November 8th. Just happens to be on election day and a blood moon. So let's get started. Gotta do this video, don't we? And before we do the astrology for November 8th and this big energy coming in, I give you a heads up, a little bit heads up, rather than just, I think it turned out to be like 2 days or something. But before we get started, let's read from our comments. We had a lot of great comments, and this should just take a little bit longer than what I could put into the other surf report. I think the part one would have end up being an hour and a half had I not broken that out. So take your time on this. If you're more just interested in the astrology, then you can zoom forward and look at that. But I'm going to be answering some questions here that I think are really, really great questions. Always great questions. No such thing as a dumb question, right? That's what we were taught. Yeah, whatever. But so let's start at the top. Now, this is from the surf report for October 20th through 26th. And that's the solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse in Scorpio. So if you're interested in these comments or want to look up who they are, or respond or whatever, go to that surf report and go into the comment section. And the first one, I know this is tiny. I can zoom in on this so you can actually read it. But John Doe, this is the only one I replied to. It was right off the bat, and I had the time, and wow, just really warmed my heart. It says, so first, let me say thank you for your time and attention to this report. And let me add that the last couple of reports were spot on from my experiences. And, I really hope that for all of us, if it's not spot on or not relevant, then maybe also some feedback there. I've been learning over my life to be humbled with good suggestions. And so if you're not getting these spot on assessments, then let me know how I can do better for you. But anyway, John Doe says your solutions are priceless and work as prescribed. That warms my heart. And then also says, thanks to your loved ones for supporting you as you influence me or us. So, wow. Thank you, John Doe. I really appreciate that comment. Ravi, how are ya? Thanks for the report. As always, seems like I have been compelled to deal with past energies occurrences in order to be able to take a step forward. I wonder if the collective has felt that same way. Yeah, because I think of that Scorpio influence over the South Node. I'd be shocked if there weren't a lot of others feeling that energy. I know I have. Feeling a dread has become a mainstay, and I'm becoming less sensitive to it. Ironic, huh? Well, I hope things are well where you are, Ravi. Milo says, this long-awaited ride is about to begin. I've already read that one in part one. Congratulations, Milos. This one was the winner. And by the way, so John Doe is 7-ups. So very close competition there. Milos eked it out. Not for me to say. Says it's getting cooler in Alabama. And I love it. Working on elevating energies and the collective love to all family. And back in Arkansas, getting colder and wetter. Shout out to you, not for me to say. And Lycia says, loved everything. Thank you so much. Thank you for the comment, Lycia. Hope I pronounced that right. And just another quantum wave function. Love that handle. Greetings, first-time viewer, new subscriber. I really appreciate the time and attention to this video. I've learned so many things. Yes, Dreambot, we're going to answer another, I think, a question later about that. And the rave is human design, and a big believer in that. They call it the astrology on steroids. I have a master's level class that I took in it, in an actual accredited degree. So it was called a transpersonal studies degree from Atlantic University. That's where I was introduced to it. I do human design readings. They're very, very intense, but this is a lifelong project, just talking about human design and learning about yourself. Another framework to do it in, but it combines astrology, the I Ching, and the Kabbalah with the chakras. So all based on energy changes, kind of like the I Ching. And that's also why I like doing the I Ching readings as a part of the triangulation for both the influence and the solution. So that's the background there. And then the DreamBot, that's just part of the National Dream Center. Figured out how to, or it was kind of an experiment, just putting the collective unconscious, i.e. DreamBot, people's dreams, people's subconscious content, looking for patterns in there and topics, and then seeing how that correlates with astrology and even the I Ching. And so that's how this idea of Surf Report was birthed. Thanks for this comment, and looking forward to your future videos. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks for the comment. Laura says, deep appreciation for the good news. That's awesome. I love that, because there's a lot of irony in there. And we can always be accepting of just the energy as it is, instead of fighting and struggling with and trying to find the good in everything. I think that's by far better. Energy is energy. How we respond to it, I highly recommend trying to be more conscious about that, and your response or reaction to it, instead of subconscious. I think that's where we get into escapism problems. Sorry to go off on a tangent there on you, Laura. I just appreciate your comment. And L. Bernadette says, that's what I say too, even if I can't see the eclipse you're affected by. And we'll go through this next coming up eclipse, and how some of us won't be able to see it, but a good swath will. And those who can't still will be able to get that influence. Al, are you an astrologer as well? I'd like to know. And shout out to you. Thanks for the comment. San says, real cycle biggie incoming. Venus on a new star point. 29 of Libra. First time since the 1870s. Now, I like this. 6 ups. And I have been recently introduced to this star points by Venus. I think it's Gutman that came up with it. Really good analysis on the math behind it, and the timing on it, and then how to apply it. I just don't know enough yet to talk about it in these surf reports. But yeah, real big. And she talks about the heartbeat of sort of how, the heartbeat or the vibe, the Venus vibe of how we relate to each other, how we love, and what those romantic or relational needs are. And so I think it's fascinating, and it is biggie. And that happened in that surf week. So thanks, San. And Florencia says, how interesting. I'm talking on all my videos about relatively real aspects of reality perception, and how impacts our perception of experience and existence, emotions, and behavior. Time to take control of our minds. And I talk with a lot of clients, more in the therapy context. A lot of therapy clients, and taking control of our minds is a real big deal. I see problems with negativity. That's the most common, but there's also problems with too much positivity, and trying to steer people more towards just seeing reality clearly without judging good or bad, or positive or negative. And then you get to choose. You get to choose what your thoughts are at that point. I think that is the ticket. But it's an eclectic view, so we need more than just one form of or theory in order to get us there. And so the more perspectives, the merrier. And I appreciate your comment, Florencia. Anaita says, Chris, how do you gather the data for the Dreambot? So this is George Ure, and he and a guy named Grady programmed in this thing called the Nostracotus. It's sort of a partner. It used to be a partner, and the language I think is the same as Cliff High's WebBot. But the Dreambot is just taking the Nostracotus software and targeting websites for dreams. And I have reliable sets. Now this is a moving ball game, because some of these one of the biggest dream sites, that was, oh man, I can't remember. I met the CEO of that in years past, but gone. It was one of the most successful ones on mainstream media, and the name will come to me here pretty soon, but they're gone. I don't even know what happened, if he got sued or if he sold his website and they just took it down. Not sure, but that's the moving parts and pieces to this. So I have to keep on checking in periodically to the websites to make sure they're still putting out current and fresh material, and it's still there. So that's where the data comes from. And if you have a dream site that you would like to put into this Nostracotus software, send that to me. You can either put it on a reply here or send it to me at nationaldreamcenter@gmail.com. Send that on an email for me, and I can check out that website and include it. The more the merrier, because we want to get a big overall view, and it can digest thousands of websites if we had them. I think we're up to like 30-ish sites. So it doesn't sound like very many, but there's hundreds or even thousands of dreams that it goes through in a matter of really seconds. Goes through all that in seconds and then spits out in a form that I can put into my Excel spreadsheet, and it prioritizes it based on an algorithm for which surge scores. I know that was a lot, but here's your answer. Hope that I answered your question, and thanks for the question. Dana says, what website app is this report off of? Please, I would appreciate any guidance on astrology apps. Okay, so the software that I use, and let me get that software out for you. I'll drag it up over here. This is the software, and then I just take a screenshot of it, of each day, and place it into a OneNote talker. But you can see, I can't zoom in on these, but this is the Sirius 3.0. And I can't remember the exact website. Maybe I can do a quick search for you. Sirius 3.0 astrology. Now they have different, cosmic pattern software. They have different versions of it depending on how much you want to spend. I think Sirius is one of the best one. And why? Matrix astrology. So here is the website. And okay, so I can zoom in on this. Kepler. Okay, so you can think of Sirius as a Super Kepler or Kepler Plus. So there's 3 different ones. This happens to be the Sirius 3.0, but if you go to astrologysoftware.com, this guy, I can't remember his name, but he has a YouTube video, a YouTube channel, and super duper smart. He does what's called vibrational astrology. there's another name I haven't been able to remember, but it's on the tip of my tongue. Well, anyway, there's your answer, and hope that helps. Thanks for the comment. Felice says, I heard I think Kazemi stay around now on air signs in Libra for the next 9 months. Is this true? Almost sounds more like the star point, but not 9 months. Every 9 months is approximately another star point, to my understanding. Now, not all of these will be in Libra, but every cycle or every 5 points, the next ones will be in Libra. And so anyway, but as far as Kazemi, are we talking about Mercury or Venus? I'm pretty sure based on this, but I need more information to be able to elaborate on that. So the Kazemi for Mercury, I don't know beyond this next one, but we're looking at the 8th of November for that Kazemi, and it's extra strong because in the vertical or the inclination is the same as well. So it's a really intense Kazemi. Sonia says some faces, and I enjoyed that. It helps the algorithm. Sonia, back at ya. Thank you for the comment. Milos, another comment. Janet says, bam. Now, Sonny, there's the last 2 comments. Having a problem with the tiny text. I'm not really sure what to say. I was going to exemplify, but in this software that I have that I use for the presentation, if I zoom, it's just messes up, and I've uninstalled it and installed it several times, and still I don't get those results. So I'm sorry that the text is tiny. It is hard on an iPhone. That's a tiny little screen, probably. So the only thing I can recommend there, Sonny, is consider watching that on a regular monitor or even on a TV. You can find a way to cast that onto the TV and see it all blown up. How does everybody else handle that? I'll put it back out to you guys. And sorry about that, but thanks for the comment. I do, when I can zoom, I do, but it's not very often. And it's this note taker that I can't really zoom in on easily. I can zoom in easily, but then trying to get it back out and getting the lines all exact is a nightmare. All right, let's shift over and start talking about the Beaver full blood moon. This is on election day, 2022, November 8th. And basically we have a total lunar eclipse. It's a blood moon, and it's also called Beaver moon, and it's a full moon by its definition because we have the moon opposite of the sun. Now, just so I can get this administration done first, I want to give you the timing. It's on election day, and you'll have to finesse these times. These are just general times. You'll have to finesse that for your individual area. This was done in UTC and Eastern time frames. The totality, meaning that the moon is completely eclipsed from the sun's energy by the earth. The earth blocks all the energy coming from the sun in a perfect way to perfectly superimpose over the moon. And that's what makes totality. That begins at 5:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 10:16 UTC, which is Zulu time. And then totality ends at 6:41. So that's about 1.5 hours. That's 6:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 11:41 UTC on November 8th. So there are periods. Now, who's going to see this is mainly all the Pacific, but we're looking at the eastern part of Asia. We're looking at Australia. Probably all of Australia will get at least some of this, either the whole eclipse or just some of it. And then likewise, you've got North America, Alaska, Canada, most of Canada, and then the western half of the United States and Mexico. And then on the eastern side of said states that I mentioned, you just get an eclipse at moonset. So just partial timing on this, but you will be able to see it. Is basically what we're doing is, so like I'm going to be over in this central time, so I can only going to be able to see it at moon set. Oh, went the wrong way. Sorry. So you notice this is the western horizon. It's a backwards in astrology. So the right side is the set and the moon is setting. So it's going down, and this is be the only time that I'll be able to see. This chart here is based off of Central America, Arkansas. And so it might be slightly different in your space, depending on where you are. Right? So this is based on my local area. And now for the other places, let's see. So like this eclipse at moon rise, you're only going to see when this thing comes up. Right, so when it goes down here, it's going to be coming up in your space at that same times. So a little backwards on the different sides of the earth. All right, let's look at the energies here. And what we have is that full moon. It's almost perfect, sounds like an oxymoron. Almost perfect conjunction with Uranus. Look at that nice hefty opposition. It's a 4 on this side by 3 on this side. It's over the North Node. It's a big time aspect, as I mentioned in part 1. And that Saturn T-square that we talked about in part 1 is still here, and it's robust. You can see, just like the last eclipse, remember, if you look at part 1, all the astrology day by day is sort of chaotic. It's not organized and grouped. But just like our last eclipse, the partial eclipse just a couple of weeks ago was, or at the time of this recording, less than 1 week ago. But it's very organized. So you have all the squares pretty much together, T-square, you got the trines together, and the oppositions are very robust. Opposition is balancing, and that's what becomes the focus area, because this energy, not just eclipse, but full moon energy it's unpredictable in how people are going to perceive it and then react to it. Most people are unaware of this influence. But it is an influence for sure, as we can see from police reports. We can see it in hospitalizations for psychiatric hospitals. Unpredictable nature of the full moon. Now we bring in the eclipse, and we have basically the Earth in the middle, where the sun's energy gets eclipsed. And so you can still see the moon, but it's like blood red. Gets really dark. It's in the shadow of the Earth. Conjunct with Uranus. So Uranus all about change, individuality, technology, insight, and even inspiration. But it's unpredictable. So now we have an unpredictable full moon, Beaver moon, blood moon. That's unpredictable. It's over the North Node. So it is very much focused on the future. Anytime you're in the future like that, and unpredictability equals the feeling of anxiety, probably the fear of the unknown. Like, what's going to happen next? What's next? So you're future oriented, tend to feel more anxiety. And then you bring in the powerhouse Uranus, It's all unknown. And then you bring in the eclipse. So now what's interesting about the eclipse, this one, is that the sun, remember the sun's energy from Scorpio is being halted by the earth. And so we're left with the focus area of this energy for a moment in time. In this case, an hour and a half ish of totality. And so these energy packets, protons that are normally combining or connecting this opposition to make it more of a balancing thing, it becomes highly weighted to this full moon. And in this case, in the future, with change agent Uranus, who wants to be a rebel and individuality and is concerned about the collective good, but not at the expense of my freedom. That becomes the dominant force. So what gets occluded, by the way? Well, by the way, we have a Mercury cazimi, and this is within 0 degrees 9 minutes. That's well within our 17 minutes. And so already cazimi, and these are tiny letters over here, but this is our indicator for parallel or contraparallel. This is the inclination or declination on each planet, and these are in the same elevation. So it's a super, super intense cazimi. It's in Scorpio. Mercury is within 17 minutes of the sun, so highly powerful at this point, but blocked. The power of the mind, this big, powerful mind that you get, hours leading up to this, you get this super mind before the eclipse, before the shadow engulfs the shadow of the earth engulfs the moon. Before that happens, you've got this powerful mind. You've got a super mind, and that's going to be before. I'll just call it very early morning. This is Central Time, 6:01 a.m. This is exactly when. This is right in the middle of totality. So we're looking at like before 5 a.m., probably when everyone's asleep, or at least in my area, asleep, is this super duper sharp mind. Some people might consider getting up early so that you can experience this or meditate and get some high level wisdom. And now before this eclipse happens, you'd have the super Mercury and opposing Uranus, and so you get this insight, you get this sense of uniqueness, how your unique character. That's another Uranus trait, not being afraid of who I am, finding my special place in the world, and so that conduit is there. And then once the eclipse begins, now we've got these packets, and it's also a super intense Venus, by the way. So we got Venus combusts, so weakened but intense, and we have Mercury super strong, super intense Scorpio with the sun, but those are being blocked at the time of the eclipse begins, even the partial. Once, so the shadows just starts covering up the moon a little bit, and you're going to start to feel this not a weakening. It's just the absence of that. So you get the super intense cazimi Mercury thinking and communicating, and then once it starts occluding, it's vacant. It's gone until you have the ending of the totality, and then supermind returns, and probably exaggerated, since this energy is pretty immediate within an hour and a half. Now on the other side of the total eclipse, this is about when people are starting to wake up, right? 6 to 7 Central Time. So these people in this time zone, at least, are going to get that super intense Cazimi Mercury thing as a real big benefit early in the morning on November 8th. So people are going to be thinking sharply and obsessively and intensely, right? Because of a Scorpio influence. And it's with the sun, so this super Cazimi. One thing I didn't do is figure out the end of that Cazimi. So I kind of regret that. But man, I've been doing lots and lots of research, probably the heaviest researched week for surf reports. That's why I put it into 2 parts. We're up at 30 minutes now for this one. Just a few more words for the astrology of November 8th eclipse. All that is blocked. But going back to the Saturn influence here, the T-square on Saturn, which, by the way, starts from part 1, starts on November 1st, ends on November 20th. And so it's conflicted. There's a trap here. The trap is lack. Everything's Saturn. So difficulty, oppression, limitation, challenges, even time is in there. Some people put government in there. Technically, law would be more of a Jupiter thing, but status quo, the way things are, tradition, is all in that Saturn. Coldness, hardness, reality, go around or go through. The other thing with Saturn is it's a very purposeful challenge, according to some. Not everybody agrees with this, but whenever Saturn poses you a challenge, it's not just to make you suffer. It's there to hone your skills. It's to sharpen your sword. It's to make you sharper, more experienced, stronger. It's kind of like having a purposeful cold or something or how about exercise might be a better example. It's crushing your immune function, but once your body rejuvenates, it's much stronger for the immune system and much stronger muscles after that. That's kind of the challenges of Saturn, is on the other side of this, you become a better person. That's the intent. Now, if you're not aware of that, then you feel like a victim. The other thing we have in this organized pattern, don't you just love the look of this organization? I'm baffled by how all the lines can get all confusing and disorganized. And then as the eclipse gets closer and closer, all these planets organize by itself. That was just like the last eclipse, and now this eclipse. It's fantastic. So we've got the Sun and Mercury and Venus and a south node that is trined over to Neptune. And that excludes the south node. That's too far away, but I'm checking the numbers here. It is Mercury, Venus, and the Sun. All easy energy over to Neptune. Is this good or bad? Nothing is good or bad. The challenging aspects to easy fantasy and easy illusion is that you can bite off on untruth. You can get confused pretty easy. You can escape pretty easy. This is the alignment for the addicts, because ego wants to escape and not deal with any problems. And so that's the bad side, but the good side is you can dream. It's a heavy dreaming, especially with Mercury trine Neptune. Dreams can seem more logical. Thoughts and fantasy, the advantage there is that you can dream of the future. You can create a reality the way you want it, because you can see alternate realities with Neptune. You can get a heads up on all those, and then you can go out and decide to create it. Trying to think if there's anything else that we haven't talked about. At the time of the eclipse, Mars will have been in retrograde, I think, for about a week, a little over a week at that point. So solidly in retrograde. And finally, these lines, these squares here, have reversed. We had a solid line with Jupiter and a dash line with Neptune. But remember, Mars now retrograde, and Jupiter and Neptune are also retrograde. So this alignment, this square is getting tighter with Neptune and going away from Jupiter. Seems a little counterintuitive, I know, but so, well, that's all I have, folks. I hope this was a big help in having this on election day. Man, you thought, did everyone experience the crazy energy on there, even though it was organized on the eclipse? This is going to be on a crazy day anyway. Some people are saying the election's not even going to happen. I don't know. It's already started with early voting, and I heard it was a great turnout. So what does this have to do with election? I think unpredictability. I think that's the key for this day. November 8th is unpredictability, but the future of freedom, individuality, but unpredictability is the definite overlap there, because you don't know how people are going to react to this energy. Do I see chaos? Well, there's no more chaos than we've seen from Saturn square Uranus. That's the chaos, the protest, the competition between keeping everything the same versus changing everything. That's been there for pretty much all year. So that continues. I don't see this as chaos, but there is that unpredictability. So all bets are off. I don't know. I can't predict other people's free will decisions. I can't predict their unknown reaction to the same energy. We don't know. So I can't predict the actual events. So what I call this is, remember this old packet is being occluded. That's cutting off the past. Boom, because it's being shaded by Earth. And now all you're left with is moving on. What's next? Fear of the unknown, unpredictability, future, freedom, independence, disclosure, collective good. Powerful, powerful stuff. This snapshot going to be good for the next 6 months. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2. I'm going to get off now, and I will put the links down in both the part 1 and part 2 for the other. So if you haven't seen part 1, make sure you go to the show notes down below this video and click on part 1 and go watch that for this next week. All right. Looking forward to it, huh? We're all one family. Where we go one, we go all. How about that? Take care, everybody. And take great care of your temples, yourselves, before you go help others. All right. Take care. See you next week.